At patuloy tayo sa ating pag-aaral. Okay. So, nung nakaraan ay ating numpisahan ng chapter 6 actually, no? Verses 1 to 8. At ito yung statement na sinabi natin sa chapter 6 verse 1 to 8. A general statement, God's grief over the wickedness of humankind, the great wickedness in response to the wickedness on the earth in which superhuman being oversteps their bound, and humankind thoughts and deeds were completely evil. And the Lord determined to destroy all living creature except the recipients of grace. So he found one person that is righteous, and that is Noah. So the verses a part of what become or Toledot of Noah, chapter 5 verses 6 to chapter 9 to actually 9 to 29. No? So because humankind was corrupt, the Lord destroyed the world with devastating flood, but he graciously saved creation and established a new order through Noah, proclaiming his regard for life through prohibitions against murder and promising never to destroy the earth again through water. Whereupon Noah proclaimed the continuance of hope through shame with Japheth and the son of Ham, or Canaan, under him. That is chapter 6, verses 9 to 9, chapter 9 to 29. So kung tingnan natin yan, yung verse 9, actually it begins with the word Toledot. The Toledot of Noah, or the generations of Noah. So here, he commissioned Noah to build an ark. So the commissions of Noah to build the ark, God instructed Noah, his righteous servant, to prepare the ark because the great flood will destroy the corrupt, violent race. That is chapter 6, verses 9 to 22. So chapter 7 is the destruction by the flood. After Noah's family, Noah, his family, and the animals entered the ark, and the Lord destroyed the entire earth and all his inhabitants by a great flood. After the flood, chapter 8, when the flood receded and the earth was again inhabitable, Noah obediently emptied the ark and faithfully offered the sacrifice that God accepted. So, yun ang pinaka-general outline, no, na ating gagawin sa umaga ito, sa gabi ito. So the preparation for the flood, that is chapter 6, 9 to 22. No? So the generations of Noah, the Toledot of Noah. So the characters of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his time. That is 6 to 9. So we see that, no? That in chapter 4, where we are told that Enoch walked with God. Now the same thing said of Noah. Noah walked the walk of Noah. Noah walked with God in verse 9. So the lesson here is that you are called to pass on your spiritual heritage to future generation. So here Noah, who walked with God, will pass his legacy to the future generation. So if you're a believer, then you have entered into covenant with your Creator. And it is, at this time, we called it is a family covenant. And you have to share that relationship with your descendant. So let there be the coming judgment. How, so we see the sons of Noah. Noah became the father of three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So chapter 6, 5 to 7, and Genesis chapter 6, 11 to 13, meron siyang parallel. No? So both of them speaks of God looking at the earth, passing judgment upon it and announcing a coming judgment. No? Yahweh is designated for God. The word God there is, the Hebrew word is Yahweh. And chapter 6, Elohim is designation for God. So the Lord grieved in his heart. The Creator moved to judge. The wickedness of man was great on the earth. The earth was corrupt in the sight of God, and the earth was filled with violence. Verses 11. Every intent of the thoughts of his heart, the thought of man, was only evil continually. In verse 12, the descriptions is all flesh had corrupted their way upon the Lord. And the Lord said, I will blot out man whom I have created from the face of the land, from the man to animal to creeping things, and the birds to of the sky, for I am sorry that I have made them. So then God said to Noah, at the end of the flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. And behold, I am about to destroy them with the earth. So we know that God was sorry, and we actually asked that question last time. So how come God, who is preeminent, God who is powerful, God who have knowledge, foreknowledge, speak about the being sorry? So I think the authors of the book is shows to us the we call that the anthropomorphic of showing God how God has emotion. But it does not mean that God repented. No? He is powerful, he knows it. But Moses, the author of the book, just expressed the anthropomorphic descriptions of God, that God has also feeling like us. Besides, if he have no feeling, he will don't have love. No? So the description here is sorry for that. The generation, that's the prophecy, that is 6 to 11, chapter 6, 11 to 13. What was true of the world at that day can also said of the world today. Man wickedness today is also set upon the earth. The world today is filled with violence in keeping with his likeness. That is, Peter point out that there is a continuing promise of coming judgment. here, letter C, the preparation is the preparations of the ark, 14 to 16. So the ark, the word ark here use the Hebrew word tiba. This is the same word used by in the book of Exodus when mother of Moses used to hide his child. Kung maalala mo, pinaalon siya sa tubig, no? At meron siyang small bags. The word also used there is tiba. It is like a coven which have para siyang kwan talaga, no? Art, gaya ng ginawa ni Noah. So each of this was a symbol actually of judgment. It carries reference to death, but it was a place of peace and safety in the midst of hostile. So the ark is a safety place, safety for the people inside that. The same thing with Moses. It was safety in that small box. The size of the ark, the length is cubits, 300 feet, 450 feet, 75 feet wide, and height is 45 feet. The materials is made of gopher wood. So the gopher wood actually is not a translation, but it is we call that transliteration of the word. Gopher wood. The shape of the ark, you shall make a window for the ark. So that's how the ark was. You shall make a window for the ark and finish it to a cubit from the top, and set the door of the ark and the side of it. You shall make it with lower, second, and third decks. So yan ang imagination ng artist. So we know that there is the purpose of the ark. That is in verse 17 to 22. The purpose of the ark was to provide a way of escape for the destructions of the flood. All human flesh, or all flesh, including the animals on the surface of the earth, was to be destroyed. This was the only place of safety. Hindi ko nilagay ito. Let me see that. So, what light does the New Testament throw onto the flood story? There is a striking parallel between God's salvations of Noah and his family with the salvation that is provided by God. Hindi ko na nilagay, no? Ito. Tama na dito. Peter wrote in the New Testament, the patience of God kept waiting in the days of Noah, during the constructions of the ark, in which a few, that is 8 persons, were brought safely through the water. And corresponding to that, baptism now save you, not the removals of the dirt from the flesh, but an appeal to God for good counsel through the resurrections of Christ. So Peter is somehow uh, tell us that it is their baptism. Well, they are covered with water from the rain and the flood at the time. All flesh was the ark. At sa kabila ay no? Jesus Christ. No? No? Yung katabi nun ay the ark and Jesus Christ. So there is a comparison of what the ark is and Jesus Christ. Of course, I know that usually we use the church as a comparison, a comparison with the ark. No? But here, it is actually Jesus Christ. No? All flesh was to be destroyed in the flood. All mankind is under condemnation. The ark was designed and planned by God. Our hope in Christ was designed by God before the world began. Ephesians chapter 1, verse 4. So we know that in the Garden of Eden, that God immediately made a plan for the restoration of man when man sinned at the Garden of Eden. Noah's part was to build the physical structures of the ark. Genesis chapter 6, verse 22. Christ was born of the human mother, 1:21. God made known to Noah his plan of salvation, verse 13. God has made known to us his plan of eternal salvation, Romans chapter 16, verse 25 to 26. Noah believed the Lord, 1:7, Hebrews chapter 11, verse 7. We must believe in Christ, John 3:16. The ark has only one door, Genesis chapter 6, verse 16. Christ is the only door to salvation, John chapter 10, verse 9. So this parallel is set forth actually in 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 22, 21, where Peter speaks on an event of the flood and how it relates to the symbolism of baptism. She mentioned about baptism on that account. So Peter tells us the ark is a picture. This is not to deny the historical reality of the ark, but it also serves as the picture and the type of Jesus Christ. Okay, so how does baptism reflect judgment? It is because baptism represent the death of Christ. Romans chapter 6. His death is salvation to us, but the same death is a condemnation to those who did not believe. Okay, so we are now commissioned, okay, so to the entrance of the ark, chapter 7, verses 1 to 10, So to enter the ark, you need obedience to the Lord. So this is what Noah did. So we are not told how long it took Noah to build the ark. So the reference in Genesis chapter 6, verse 3, to the days of man being limited to 120 years, has led some to believe that this was the period which Noah was involved in the constructions of the ark. So the animal actually were entered into the ark, and there are two categories of the animals, the clean and the unclean. So the clean animal, 7 of its type. Unclean is two its type taken onto the ark. The objective of the story or narrative, one of the remarkable features of the story of the flood is its objective character. Noah's subjective feelings or emotions are not mentioned. We are simply told that God commanded and Noah obeyed. So malungkot siguro si Noah, but the text in the book of Genesis never mentioned about the feeling or emotions of Noah. So the final preparation, Noah is told by God to take his family and enter the ark, where they are to wait for 7 days. Wala pang ulan, no? Not yet, the rain is not yet there. They are to wait until the rain begins. They are to move into the ark while the sun is shining and while there is nothing visible on the horizon. And this is the test of faith. No? Wala pang ulan, no? Kaya yung mga tao noon ay kinukutya sila. No? Bakit pumunta na sila lang walang ulan pa? No? So, most likely there is a reason for that. No? Eh kung umuulan na at pupunta sila sa ark, most likely people will follow them. Because they saw that there is rain. So we can only imagine the feeling with which they are here, risen. No? They spend a great time and effort in constructing the giant ship. Their neighbors are not sharing their faith. So they are mocking and disdain. So this is the test of faith. James chapter 1, verse 3, tell us the testings of our faith. Produce patience, resulting in a stronger faith. So 7 days before. Why do you think there is, the animals were divided and there are more animals that is clean? How many? There are 7 of its type, more than the unclean animal. The reason is because animal is also designated for their food, and for the sacrifice. Mas marami, no? So the Genesis account lists the source for the flood. No? Dalawa yung tubig na pinanggalingan. No? The floodgates of the sky were open. So it points to the sky as the source for the waters of the flood. And bukas yung fountain of the great deep. verse open, point to the ocean as the source of the water. We are given listing all of the occupants of the ark in verses 13 to 16. He encompasses Noah and his wife and their 3 children and their wife, and it is 8 souls. It will be through the 8 souls that the human race will be saved. They will begin a new order, a new generation. So we see that verse 15 states that the animal went into the ark of Noah. We know how long it was and how it takes and how the animal came into, how Noah's arranged. But we know in chapter 7, verse 16, that the Lord closed it behind him. Is there ang tanong dito, may universal ba ang flood? So 40 days and 40 nights, it was a number that is particularly significant to the original readers of Moses' manuscript, verse Exodus chapter 20 to 8. 40 days and 40 nights, it was the number that have a rain that come that did not stop on the water rose and the flooded and choked the every life of the flesh. Nilunod ng tubig ito ang bawat buhay nandoon sa tubig. 40 days and 40 nights, instead of the flood, the people of Israel found themselves in the desert before every mountains of God. 40 days and 40 nights, that was how long Jesus was tempted in the wilderness. So it is a significant number. It's not local or universal. And so the water, as described in the text of chapter 7, the water lifted the ark up above the earth. The water prevailed and increased upon the earth, verse 18. The water prevailed exceeding upon the earth. All the high hills were covered. All the mountains are covered. The water rose 15 cubits above the mountain. 17. So all flesh died upon the earth. So the water prevailed for 150 days, according to chapter 7, verse 24. So the accounts actually tell us that it is universal. These are kasi may mga scholars, mga tao nagsabi, hindi naman, it is not a universal flood. It is just local, only in the place of Noah. So the biblical account says that there was water covered the whole earth. The local use the word earth. Earth is often used to describe local area. Biblical language get out of this way to use the language of totality. So the language, biblical language, it's described that it is a total flood. But the reason of local flood, the account is given from the viewpoint of the narrator, and that his perspective, the destruction is total. Yun ang sabi ng ano, no? So the size of the ark indicate that this was no local. No? The size of the ark is not related to the extent of the flood. No? Yun ang reason nila. O, hindi yung sa laki. No? Pero bakit kaya gagawa ng isang malaking ark kung hindi ito kalakihang baha? No? So the purpose of the ark was the punishment of the worldwide sin. In a local flood, some could have escaped. God could have made certain all flesh was destroyed without flooding the entire globe. So these are the worldwide trace of flood. The evidence is questioned as to its universality. So yun ko, ano? Ang tanong natin dyan, saan pumunta yung tubig kung ito'y lokal? No? So according to them, they went to Mount Everest, which is over 5 miles above the sea level plus. Yun ang kanilang sabi. No? So anyway, these are just theories of the local account. But we know that it is universal flood. No? And we have some evidence with some of the story about the extra unbiblical source, the universality of the destruction. Some of the story that is used by other reference. Anyway, so the receding of the water, chapter 8, 1 to 3. So the wind God caused a wind to pass over the earth, chapter 8. But anyway, God remembered Noah. So the water stopped, the fountains of the deep, and the floodgates of the sky were closed. And the rain from the sky was restrained. That is verse 2. So then the ark came to rest. Chapter 8, verse 1, but God remembered Noah and all the beasts and all the cattle that were with him in the ark. And God caused a wind to pass over the earth. So the wind, actually, the blowing wind will help to increase evaporation and even the distributions of the water. Ito siguro dahilan kung bakit ginamit ng Diyos yung wind. In the evaporation process, it's become more helpful. So here is a comparison of the three chapters. Chapter 6, God warned Noah. Chapter 7, God delivered Noah. Chapter 8, God remembers Noah. The ark is built in chapter 6. The ark is used to save Noah, and the ark came to rest in the mountain of Ararat. Noah built the ark. Noah's in the ark. Noah coming out of the ark. The earth filled with violence, the earth filled with water. Noah to go out and fill the earth. So the new generation will start with the generations of Noah. So in the seventh month, on the seventh day of the month, the ark rested upon the mountains of Ararat. So there is another chapter 9. Well, anyway, we know that, no? You know the story about, we know that Noah waited until the earth inhabited before leaving the ark in chapter 8, 6 to 19. So he offered sacrifice, the sacrifice of the clean animals. And that is in chapter 8, 20 to 22. So God accepted that the sacrifice of Noah. So here, the Lord resolved not to judge the race in the manner meaning in the manner of destroying them by water. So the covenant now, chapter 9, a statement demonstrating his high regard for life. God established a new order with the blessings of the fruitfulness and the prohibitions of God taking personal life and promise by covenant never to destroy every living creature again by such the flood. The rainbow was a reminder of this gracious covenant. As long as there is the sign, as long as there is a rainbow, God will always remember his covenant made with Noah. Verses 9, 1 to 7, the establishments of the new order. God established the new order by blessing Noah as he had Adam, and by instructing humankind that rather than destroy human life, they must postulate the earth and preserve life. The covenant promise, God promised with an unconditional, enduring covenant that he will never destroy the world with such flood, and seal this promise with a sign of the bow or rainbow. Now, something happened in verses 18 to 29. The oracles of Noah, the curse of Canaan. Noah cursed Canaan, the descendant of Ham, with slavery, but blessed Shem and Japheth, because when he had become intoxicated and had laid naked in his tent, Ham has responded with disrespect, whereas Shem and Japheth had respectfully covered their father's nakedness. Although there is a controversy in here, the account in verses 18 to 29, so there is a furlong, the earth was populated by descendants from Shem, Ham, and Japheth. There's an event in verses 20 to 23 that Noah's drunk. Ham acted with disrespect, but Shem and Japheth acted with reverence. So Noah cursed Canaan, and blessed Shem and Japheth. So the last verse 28 to 29, Noah lived 350 after flood. Chapter 9, this is the chapter of the new beginning. The destructions of the flood is past. The judgments of God has came and gone. Those who were in the ark were spared, or else was destroyed. Now we come to a new beginning. The new beginning has the echo of the first beginning. Adam, Noah compared. Adam was the fathers of the human race. Noah is the new fathers of the human race. Adam was told to be fruitful and multiplied and fill the earth. Noah is told to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Adam was to rule over the animals, and God brought them to be named. So the fear of Noah and his descendant will be on all animals. They are given into his hand. God gave Adam the herbs and the fruits of the ground as food. God adds to Noah's choice of the food. That include the flesh of the animals. So mankind to rule by fear. Verse 9, 2. And the fear of you and the terrors of you shall be in every beast of the earth, and every birds of the sky, with everything that creeps on the ground, and all the fear of the sea. Unto your hand they are given. So, binigay din ng Diyos kay Noah, no? Dito, iba, no? Doon sa kay Adam, the animals is friendly to human. But here, the animals have fear human. Kaya makikita mo pag magpunta ka sa bundok, pag makita ka ng hayop, so namang klase ito ay nagtatago sila, no? Because of that. That is how God established a new order. Mankind live by eating animals. This is not happened during the time of Adam, but after the flood, every moving things that will alive shall be food for you, and give all to you, and as I give the garden, the green plant. No? Yung prohibition na sa verse 9, verse 4 rather, only you shall not eat flesh with its life. That is the blood. So human beings are not to eat blood or animal alive. That is where the blood is in them. So the capital punishment, whoever shed man's blood, by man, his blood shall be shed. For the reason, for in the image of God, he made man. So here is the prohibition from shedding human blood. So capital punishment has two results. It's eliminate eliminates the offender, and it's demonstrate the high value of human. So the reason everyone who shed the blood of another person should be put to death. For human were made in the image of God. Now the establishment of covenant, verses 8 to 11, the covenant concept. This is seen in the fact that you did not write the covenant. You always cut a covenant. The idea of making covenant was always sealed with the death of an animal. This was sought to ingrain in the ancient culture. At the later date, the word covenant sometimes disappear entirely as you read the two parties. They use the word cutting together instead of covenant. That is the stipulation also. That's the concept of there is two parties of the covenant. Verse 9 to 10, I myself do establish my covenant with you and with your descendant after you, and with every creature, every living creature that is with you, the birds, the cattle, and every beast of the herd, of all that come out of the ark, and every beast of the earth. Maybe it's referring to the fish, whatever living the water. We call that every beast of the earth. That is the parties. So the parties is the Lord, Noah, his descendant, and every living creature. The covenant is always between at least two parties. Here, the Lord, Noah and his descendants, and every living creature. Ng concept ng covenant. So this is an everlasting covenant. I myself do establish my covenant in you, with your descendant and after you, and with every living creature. So it is an eternal, everlasting covenant because God will never, all flesh shall never again be cut off by the water of the flood. That is in verse 11. I guess I put it here. So the sign, so the nature and the sign of the sign of the covenant. I set my bow in the cloud and shall be a sign of covenant between me and the earth. The uniqueness of the sign, I don't think there is no true. So God sealed his covenant, verse 12 to 17, with the rainbow. So that is the uniqueness, reminding himself and the race of the earth of his covenant promise. The final reminder, I will remember my covenant, verse 19. So the rainbow as a sign of the covenant is appropriate when we contrast it to the sign of Abrahamic covenant. We have a lot of covenant in the Old Testament. And one of them is the Noah's covenant with God. And so why covenant and Abrahamic covenant? The sign is the rainbow. The sign of Abraham covenant is circumcision. So the sign reaches out to all creation because it is the covenant with all living things. It is a private and personal because it marks an individual as one of God's covenant people. So sa part ni Noah and ni Abraham, it became personal. So the circumcision is a sign and a human body. This was appropriate because man alone is involved in the covenant with God. It marks that the individual are being one of God's covenant's people. By contrast, why covenants involve all creation, all created life that came out of the ark and those in the water. As a result, the sign is not given in the body of Noah, but in the sky, where it is identified. The sign is in the sky, because it is not just with Noah, but with all of creation. The rainbow is the sign to all. So Noah drunkenness, as I told you before, so drunkenness is always condemned in the scripture. The drinking of alcohol and beverages is permitted and even advised under certain circumstances. So we have a record that Jesus demonstrated this during the wedding at Cana. No? Is that Cana? Changed water into wine. Paul told Timothy to utilize wine for medicinal purposes. But Paul instructed believers in the church not to associate with drunkards who were claiming to believe in Christ. 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 11. The point is that being drunk is inconsistent with being a Christian. So that is drunkenness. Now here is what happened. They said that the harm, inappropriate behavior, verses 9:22 to 23. This could, sabi na there is a homosexual activity that happened that time. This could merely be an impious action of the son looking disrespectfully upon the nakedness of the father. So the background actually, nalasing si Noah at tubad, no? Nakita siya ng kanyang mga anak. So we read that Ham saw the nakedness of his father. And so these two possibilities. One is that it is just and envious actions of the son, looking disrespectfully with the father, nakedness. In contrast, his two brothers take care not to allow their eyes to see the nakedness of their father. They are walking backward with gaze averted that they will move to cover their father's nakedness. But the other is the language could be euphemistic. Euphemism referring to homosexual acts. These are several places in the Old Testament where we see this example. Other hints that this may have been the case. But again, there is a human homosexual act because in verse 24, where Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done unto him. It seems to refer to more than Ham seeing his father nudity and then speaking about it in improper manner. So it seems that it euphemistic reference to human or homosexual act. So the magnitude also, the magnitude of the cursed will seems to suggest a greater sin that the immodest look or an ill-advised communications of what had seen. So whatever interpretation is choice or is choose, Ham's actions are seen in contrast to his brother, who are careful not even to look at upon their father's nakedness. He has looked and then he had spoken in what apparently has been dishonored the father. So the result that they will do neither, the brothers. Instead, they show respect for their fathers. Privacy by taking care not to see him in that condition. But Shem and Japheth look a garment and laid upon both their shoulders and walked backward and covered the nakedness of their father, and their face were torn away, so that they will not see their father nakedness. So the prophecy of Noah, when Noah walked from his wine, he knew what his younger son has done to him. So he said, "Cursed be Canaan, the servant of the servants of the servants. He shall be to his brother." No? You see, he did not directly cursed his son. No? He cursed Canaan. We are not told why he cursed Canaan rather than Ham. Of course, we know that Ham is the descendant of the people of Canaan. Bless the Lord, the God of Shem, and let, you see that? Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem. It seemed that the Lord bless Shem and let Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth and let him dwell in the tent of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. But anyway, May God enlarge Japheth. So that's the one of the who he let him dwell in the tent of shame. So, just as Noah, the younger son, Ham, had committed the sin, so now Ham's younger son, Canaan, is cursed. This brings us to question, why is Canaan cursed instead of Ham? We're not told. One suggestion is that Noah would not curse Ham because he has been blessed by God. Genesis chapter 9, verse 1. And you don't curse someone whom God has blessed. So the blessings of shame, blessed be the Lord, the God of shame, and let Canaan be his servant. By virtue of this praise, it is indicate that the spiritual leadership of the world is to be come to the line of shame. It is from the shame that the nation of Israel will be descended. This prophecy indicates that the promised seed will come through the shame. We know that, no? So, the promise of Japheth, God will enlarge him. The prophet to Abraham, in you all of the families of earth shall be blessed. In other words, the enlargements of Japheth will refer the the Gentiles, to all other nations. But the blessing of him, that he will be the source of leadership in Israel. So dalawa yung dito, no? Yung promise actually to make them for the Gentiles that's promised to Abraham actually is from Japheth. There is, so Adam sinned and become naked. He realized that he was naked in the Garden of Eden. Noah does the same thing. He became drunk and he lied naked with his tent. We are reminded that the last Adam became naked as he hung upon the cross of our place, in our place. So Noah, God placed into garden. Noah plants a garden. Eat the fruits of the tree, drinks the fruit of the vine, result in recognizing his nakedness, result in lying naked in his tent, result is accursed, result in the lasting division of the seed. So, followed by the genealogy to demonstrate the division. From here, there's already a division between the seed of the serpent and the seed of the man, of the woman. His eyes were open and he knew he was naked. He woke up from his wine and knew what his younger son had done. He was judged and cursed by God. He placed a curse upon Canaan. So, verses 28 to 29 is the letter legacy. We are just told there in the verse that done, we are told that the legacy that Noah lived 350 years after the flood and died at the age of 950 years. That is Genesis chapter 20 to 29. These are the generations of, so we just finished the generations of Noah. Then the flood, this is the generations of Noah, the flood on covenant, that is chapter 6, verse 9 to chapter 9, verse 29. But next is chapter 10 to chapter 11 is the tablets of nations on Babel. And so here, the statement, what become of shame, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. That is in chapter 10, verse 1 to chapter 11, verse 9. All of the nations of the world descended from Shem, Ham, and Japheth, among them whom were the Canaanite tribe and their eastern power, but they did not scatter in obedience to the Lord's command, but as the result of the Lord's judgment upon the rebellious apostasy in the fourth generation. So this begins the Toledo of shame in chapter 10, verse 1. The generation of nation, the Toledo of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So we know that in verse 10 to 5, chapter 10, verse 2 to 5, is the descendants of Japheth. So they settled on the northwest and become the founders of the Greek and the Syrians. The descendants of Ham, number 3, settled in the area of Egypt and Canaan. And from this tribe came the founders of the great cities of the earth, of the east. Chapter 10, 6 to 20. Then we have the records of the descendants of Shem, the ancestors of Eber, settled in the eastern land, in the land of Persian Gulf. Chapter 10, verses 21 to 31. So this, the last verse of chapter 10, these were the divisions of the nation. So, and that is how chapter 10 is. Letter B, chapter 11 to chapter 1, chapter 11, verses 1 to 9. The dispersions of the nation when the human race settled together to preserve their unity and develop their faith by building a grandiose city tower. And the Lord interrupted their collective apostasy and scattered them into the land, put them across the face of the earth by confusing the language and united them. This is the story of Babel. So we did already chapter 1 to chapter 10. Next time we will discuss a little bit about the story of Babel. So these are the descendants of the 3 children of Noah. So next time we will study what became of Shem. We are now building the story of Israel. Okay, so maybe we could just summarize to finish it very quickly. Okay, so any question?
Question. And before the questions, we welcome natin mga bagong classmate. Si Marlon Pakle. At taga Boracay.
Oh, si Marlon.
Oh. At Saka si Balong, tagapagad yan. Sino ba sa anak ni Brother Feliciano ang tinatawag na Balong?
Brother Blinda.
Sa mga bagong classmate natin. Okay,
Hello.
so 14 tayo. Okay, questions. Bakit nalasing kaya si Kwan? Si Noah?
Hindi natin alam kung bakit naglasing, Well, maybe he just celebrating the fruit of his garden. Remember, he made a garden. I don't know, I could not speculate why he did drunk. Maybe because of loneliness. We don't know because he has no let me see that. May asawa naman siya, di ba?
Ano yan?
May mga anak eh, di may asawa.
I mean, is alive at the time. Kasi dalawa-dalawa, tatlong anak at asawa, di 6. May kasama niyong asawa niya, no? But after that, the wife was not mentioned after the flood. Well, in a way, even his children's wife are not mentioned, not only the children.
Sir
What
Bert,
do you think, Brother June?
Sir Bert,
Ah,
mayroon kasing na-encounter akong mga batang Islamic scholar. Ginigit nga niyan. Yan bang pinagmamalaki yung ninono ninyo ng gagahasa? O saan? Yan, si Noah. Naka-Genesis. Sabi ko, wala namang panggagahasa doon. Kasi pag ginahasa mo, pinipilit. Wala namang using of force and violence or intimidation. Siya nilasing ng mga anak niya. O so, hindi siya nanggagahasa. Pareho din yun, sabi.
ang hindi niya alam, yung kanyang lahi nang galing doon kay Han.
Inano lang niya ako kasi gusto niya pamalian siya tama. Ang gusto niya niyang maipit ako na mali ang Biblia. Hindi naman niya malulusutan. Naka-duty ako, security guard. Request siya ng gamitin yung covered court namin sa NHA, National Housing Authority. Mayroon tayong background kahit paano diyan sa mga sinful mga criminal cases na yan. Hindi niya ako hindi niya ako nagapi.
Pero si Noah, di ba dati na siyang umiinom ng ubas niya? Before the flood?
Totoo.
Ang garden niya before the flood, di ba?
Before.
Di umiinom na siya ng ubas noon, before. Pero hindi siya nalalasing.
Hindi siya nalasing.
Nalasing siya.
Sadyang nilasing talaga siya ng mga babae para masipingan.
Walang sinabi.
Walang sinabi, no?
Walang sinabing ganun. Basta ang theory, before the flood, umiinom na siya. Pero hindi siya nalalasing. After the flood, uminom siya ulit, nalasing na siya.
Nalasing na rin, tagal eh.
Kaya ang theory,
kasi
ay ganito.
49 yung flood. O di, nagbarik siya ng umaga, nagdamaga.
Hindi, ang theory ay ganito, nagbago daw ang temperature ng mundo after the flood.
Kaya nakakalasing na.
Dati naman, uminom siguro siya ng before the flood. Hindi siya nalalasing. Pagkatapos ng flood.
Baka nanibago siya, Brad. Dahil porque hindi siya nagiinom, baka nanibago. Kaya nalasing siya.
Ang nanibago
tagal siya hindi nakainom eh. Nanibago yung kuha niya, yung tinatawag metabolism sa inom, sa acid. Pati natin ng vine. Magbabago siguro kaya nalasing.
Sa mga,
Nag-iba yung immune system niya.
sa mga subano, yung mga pangasik, ayun na, binaon ng tag-ilang buwan na.
Baka yung wine niya ang nabago. Yung ubas niya ang
Okay.
nabago.
Kasi dito sa verse 20 and 21, Noah began farming and planted a vineyard.
Anong
And he
chapter?
drank of the wine and became drunk. So dito siguro dahil ito yung first produce na ginawa niyang ano, no?
After the flood na yan.
Garden dito. After the flood.
Oh.
After the flood. So doon sa before the flood, talagang hindi sila kumakain o ng anumang bagay na related to animals. Puro sila vegetarian noon. No? So uminom siya ng wine doon. Ginagawa niya.
Hindi siya
Well,
nalasing
anyway,
before the
because
flood.
probably the land is still cursed at this time. No? You need to work actually in order to eat.
Kaya ang theory, after the flood, nagbago ang temperature ng Earth kasi
Nagbago yung temperature.
na madali nang ma-ferment yung grape juice.
Grape juice naging alak na.
Kaya ang sabi that explains bakit ang mga dinosaur na galing sa Arka ni Noe hindi nakapag-survive. Kasi nagbago na yung temperature ng mundo.
Temperature.
Ang theory lang na possible na nangyari.
Possible. Saka mga bata pa yung mga dinosaur na yun.
Yung iba itlog, hindi napisa.
They were just young.
Kasi sobrang lamig yung ano, nababad sa nabugok kasi nababad sa 40 days, 40 nights na baha.
Kasi ang theory nila sa dinosaurs, tinamaan ng mga comets daw. Tinamaan, kaya naging extinct sila, no? Evolutionist theory yun eh. Millions of years ang sinasabi nila nung mag-exist sila. Kaya baka mas
carbon analysis nila.
Baka mas believable itong theory na after the flood nagbago ang climate ng mundo. Hindi nakapag-survive ang mga dinosaurs.
Kaya wala hanggang ngayon. Wala nang lahi. Hindi nakapag tawag nito.
Sa kanya sila kailangan eh.
Okay, so mga questions. Di mag-picture taking na tayo.
Lumabas na kayo. Yung mga lungga. Ayan.
Yan si Balong. Si Kwanto. Bitwell.
Balong, lumabas na.
Balong.
Baka absent ka.
Hello po, Brother Bert. Yung pong nabanggit nyo doon po sa chapter 6, chapter 6 ng Genesis, and then doon sa Matthew chapter 1:24 na parang sinasabi po doon yung kaparehas, no? Yung pagkakagawa po ng ark, and then yung pong sa ating Panginoong Jesucristo. And then doon po sa ark, sure sila na naligtas yung 8 kaluluwa, di ba po? Yung family ni Noah, si Cham, si Japet at saka si Sim. Sa church po, no, sa iglesia, ang Panginoon yung Panginoon Jesucristo yung yung ating sa iglesia, siya yung nagtatag.
Mhm.
Siya yung nag-art din, no? Kung sa loob na ng iglesia ang Kristiyano, maliligtas po ba talaga o maliligtas po ba lahat or hindi? Parang kasi po doon po sa nabanggit nyo kanina, doon po sa ark ni Noah, naligtas po yung 8 kaluluwa, and then ngayon nga napapag-usapan doon yung mga dinosaurs, yung mga hayop ay nagkamatay.
Mhm.
Pero po doon po sa loob ng iglesia ng ating Panginoon, ang tanong, maliligtas po ba lahat?
Yung sabi ng Acts chapter 2, yung naliligtas, dinadagdag ng Panginoon, no? Doon sa iglesia. Pero meron ding mga tao na hindi sila patuloy
No,
na
kaya
kasama natin. Pero yung aking analogy is not the church. My
Yes po.
analogy is about Jesus Christ.
Yes po.
So usually, I know that we do that analogy in our personal evangelism, the ark and the church. So we know that those people who are saved are added to the church. But Paul also told us that there is judgment first in the body of Christ. So there are some people that within nandun sa church na hindi sila maligtas. Yun ang judgment ng Panginoon. But being from the start, a person who believed, who confessed, who baptized in obedience to Christ, God led him to the church of Christ.